Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1973 Renault Alpine A110 1600S. Now the Renault Alpine was produced between 1961 and 1977 and was a rear-wheel drive, rear-engine sports car that was available with various Renault engines ranging from a 956cc inline-4 engine all the way up to a 1647cc inline-4 engine. And Renault not only provided the engines for this car, but in 1973 actually bought the company out, and that meant that a small manufacturer like Alpine was able to have a bit more clout behind it in terms of production. And unlike other sports cars from the time, this wasn't just useful on a normal road, but it also was a really rather successful rally car. It went on to win the first ever World Rally Championship in 1973, winning 6 out of the 13 events. Also coming in third in Sweden in another event, and it finished with a massive 147 points, which when you compare it to second place, which was Fiat, they only had 84 points, which is a huge margin and a huge lead for Renault Alpine there. And in comparison to Lancia, which won the next year's World Championship, that's a far bigger margin compared to that car. Though granted that Lancia smashed this Renault Alpine, because this car went all the way from first in 1973 all the way down to 10th, winning only one of the I think 8 events, whereas Lancia went from 13th to first. So but nonetheless, this is easily one of my favourite classic cars, especially from Europe. And unfortunately we don't have many classic French cars on the Forza series, but this is easily one of my favourites from that country. And several reasons why. One, it's really rather lightweight. It only weighs 1,576 pounds, which is kind of obvious when you look at the interior, because there's really not much in there. You've got bare metal paint on the inside. You've not got much in the way of amenities or anything like that. It's all really rather basic, but that's a plus point when you come into a car that's a sports car, especially one that doesn't have all that much power, nor all that much in ways of practicality, because there is your front boot, not much in the way of space there. But this makes up for the lack of practicality and the general lack of power because of that light weight. But it still has a decent amount of power from a 1.6 litre inline-4 engine, produces 123 horsepower and 106 pounds-feet of torque, which again I know doesn't sound all that much, but when you got a car that doesn't even weigh 1,600 pounds, that is more than enough power. And because the engine is in the rear and it does weigh so little, it's got really rather good launch off the line, which again is useful if you're rallying, because you need every second you can get. And this car certainly dominated its first ever entry into the Rally Championship. So great car overall. I really do like the looks of it, and it's got a unique feature in the fact that the air vents are in the rear, because obviously it's rear-engined. As you can see, they flow into the rear there on both sides of the rear fenders. And twin exhausts. It's got a nice side profile to it. Looks pretty good from the front, and it's just a generally pleasing looking car. But outside of all of that, it's obviously a really good car to drive, because obviously it wouldn't have won a Rally Championship if it wasn't. So let's get out there and see how good it actually is. Now the whole reason that Alpine was actually bought out by Renault was because of the oil crisis in the early 70s, which I know might seem a bit of a weird thing, considering this is a very light car and it doesn't have a very big engine, but then again they were a very small company. So even though they only dropped by around 500 units between 73 and 74, that was enough to get Renault to buy them out. So which is rather unfortunate in some ways, but then again it didn't help keep the company alive for a couple more decades. And obviously they've bought back the Alpine name for the latest car in the Alpine range, in the form of that really rather good looking spiritual successor to this. But this car in its own right is really rather good, and it's not going to be the fastest car ever, because it does only have 123 horsepower, but because of that lightweightness and the fact that it has a rear-wheel drive rear engine layout, it's still really rather good in terms of 0 to 60 time of 6.934 seconds, which is really rather good. Granted, the 0 to 100 time isn't as good at 20.639 seconds, because again, less power you have, the harder it is to go faster once you go beyond a certain amount of speed. And but nonetheless, the top speed is really rather solid at 138, which is, you know, quicker than some muscle cars from the time, because it, you know, has better gearing and more gears in general. So yeah, fantastic car really. And yeah, it's not perfect in terms of handling. It does have some understeer at times because of the fact that it's really rather rear biased. But you know, if you get used to that handling over time, you will have a really rather good car and a really good fun car to drive. And yeah, like I said, easily one of my favourite classic cars. It does make me wish that we have more classic French cars, because there are plenty out there to choose from, either from Renault themselves or Citroën or Peugeot. There are plenty to choose from, and yeah, unfortunately another Alpine on this game isn't on this game in the form of the GTA Le Mans, which has been on Forza Motorsport 7, which again is one of my favourite European sports cars. This is a classic really, and yeah, there's no doubting its credentials when you know how much it won and dominated the 1973 World Rally Championship. So yeah, winning nearly half the events, and yeah, being on podium for 7 of those 13 events is really rather good really. And yeah, just makes me, again, like I said, yearn for more French classic cars, because there are plenty out there. Even Citroën had a hand in rallying at the time with the Citroën DS, which is actually on Dirt Rally 2.0, but I really would like that car on a Forza game, because again, it is a really good car with a couple of unique characteristics going for it, just like this car has. But nonetheless, a brilliant car in its own right, and yeah, definitely does deserve more appreciation, as yeah, went on to show that sports cars weren't just cars that were fragile or meant just for the road or the track. Showed that you could also have a sports car that could you know, deal with the rough and tumble world of the rallying, which obviously the likes of the Stratos would follow on from in the next year. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.